It's day 301 of Zohar Pshat, and we're on Daf Lamed Gimel and base, and we're at Birkir Shamayim, which is 3, 6, 9, 12, 59 to the bottom. Kir Shamayim. The Morris are putting in Birkir Shamayim. Darikia diu klor de kulu. This is the Birkir from which everything comes. The begin to not the konorin, because it takes all the illuminations. Bunoy line hara, to learn hara, and illuminates those illuminations which don't illuminate. In other words, I'm assuming that there's like the moon receives light from the sun. There are all sorts of illuminations which don't have light on their own and receive light from the light which comes from the Rikia. The Vitaya Bay, and it's connected. It's linked to it. Begin these dabik bahahumara, because it's that shortcoming is linked to it. And all other types of shortcomings are linked to it. Being zero the because of diminished light. So the rakia evidently serves as a kind of filter. It filters out the light which is not supposed to come down, the light which is supposed to be diminished, light which is supposed to be light which is not independent, light which is received, and that light which is not completely light. It's only partial illumination. There's a different version here of Afilu Harakia Delona here. But I think the Apik works better. And this Rakia produces this light that does illuminate. Why? Well, what is it? Anyway, kind of left field. Malchus Shamayim, Ve'eretz Yisrael, Ve'eretz HaChaim. There's the Malchus Shamayim, which is, I guess is the light which comes out. Then there's Eretz Yisrael, and which is a place. Eretz HaChaim, which presumably is the land of living in general. And there evidently is this idea that the Malchus Shamayim is supposed to illuminate Eretz Yisrael and the Eretz HaChaim, and it doesn't completely illuminate. It all comes down in a specific, limited way. Hashamayim iu ha'rakia. Shamayim is this rakia, the Malchus Shamayim. Beginei kach yehi me'oros chaser vav. But its account, the me'oros is lacking a vav. The vav obviously is a vav achibor, right? The vav of connection is not always completely connected. That's the whole point of this reflected light, which is not completely light, and sometimes it's dark, and sometimes it's completely dark at the beginning of the month. My timer, the below vav moistibama. Without the vav, that allows for death in the world. That allows for imperfections in the world. And that's why the Ma'oros is written without above, to show that it's not it's not a consistent connection and not a consistent illumination from above to below. There's a dollar here. There's just a smart Mokum. Yimaros Kula Betaya. In this Yimaros, everything is contingent. Lachlolo Lilith Bama. And it brings down Lilith into the world. In other words, again, assuming that, like we always assume, that Lilith is not a specific female demon, it brings down darkness into the world. The powers of darkness, the powers of Tumah, they have to exist. So the powers of Tumah have to exist. That's the Rakia. Evidently, I don't know if this is the same Rakia we're talking about in the Pshat and Pasuk, but there's this filter which causes the light to be curtailed, light to be stopped, and that allows for the midah of darkness in the negative sense. We've had choshech in a positive sense, and perhaps that's the difference. And I'm just hypothesizing now. I don't know if it actually is going to be borne out by the Zohar in continuation. Perhaps it's between Lila and Lilith. Is that Lila is a good thing? We've already had that, right? The midah of Lila is essential midah. The positive things about Lila, it's its own or, so to speak. But Lilith is complete darkness. This is where there is not, it's not illumination which is open, like a hay is open. It's a concealment like a sub is completely closed. So there's perhaps this idea that there's needs to be room for Lilith, not just for Lila. And that's what this, that's what the Rakia does. I'm wondering if it's going to be borne out. We're going to be able to see this consistently. Meantime, let's take as an idea, a working hypothesis. Ksiv katam gadol shambu. Pasuk Yov says small and large are there. Ksiv ki im shem adir ki im shem adir Hashem lana pasuk Yeshaya. There's a great mighty name which is which Hashem we have. V'adok ksiv, but on this it says evidently where this doesn't come. Shem adir is not present. Where because the Shem Adir is present, and obviously it's great or, and that's the Godel. When it's Katan, when it's small, Achsham Hirgia Lilis, Umatzlo Manach. There, when it's not present, that's where Lilis finds its resting place. Let's take a look at that pasuk. So let's talk about a place of desolation. Pakshu Tzim Esiyim Misoya Re'eri Krach, Sham Hirgia Lilis, Umatzlo Manach. So according to Rashi, this place, there's going to be Seirim, which are Shadim, and Lilim, which are Shidos, and they're going to find a place to rest there. But the Malbim says that these wild animals come there, and they are, there he says also Shadim, but the Lias, he says, Ofa Boche Mukone Kol Laila. It's a bird which cries and laments the whole night. So this bird in the Yishuv has no menucha. But out there, in the place of desolation, it has menucha. Evidently, he says it's not going to cry anymore. It only cries in the yishuv, but not in the in a desolate place. But I think the way we can understand it for our purposes, this pasuk is the Hashem Yigilis Matzal Manoach means when the name of Hashem is not operative. So then this midah of darkness comes to play. It's operative, and it works, and it works by spreading this darkness in the world. And so he says, Me'oros Choser is a lens which doesn't have light on its own, except through other lights, the non-reading law which illuminate to it, Kashishta delakta nohera de noher, like a lantern, which gets light from elsewhere. I guess it's kind of like a lantern which reflects and gathers light and then illuminates. Okay, so we're going to get into this more elaborate, but the point is that I think this key again. There's this filter which allows for lilis, which is to find manoach, which is to be absolute darkness. And of course, that's the beginning of the month before things start developing and the light starts illuminating. So I want to go with this idea and see how far we can take it. This in between Lila and Lilis. That's what I want to take away from today's Zohar and see again where we can go with it. Okay, and I think that's. We see from the Malbim there in Yeshaya that this idea of Lilith is not necessarily female shade. It could be other things as well.